Hi, I'm Anna Lee, the Secretary of Pride, and I am interviewing James O'Deary on his transition experience. So thank you so much for joining me today. First question. What was it like for you? When did you know that you had been born in the wrong body? When did you sense that change?
I would say approximately when I was about 3 to 4 years of age. I was always expecting a penis to grow, which never happened. So right away, even when I was young, I always thought I was a boy. I never accepted the fact I was a female. I always wanted to join all the boys' sports. I wanted to join in the boys' locker room. I never ever thought I was a female. So when my mother kept telling me, "You're a girl," I would argue with her that I'm a boy. And that's what happened most of the time.
And so your mom would just indicate, "Oh no, you're wrong." Was there any other response to?
Not really. It was mostly, "You're a girl, you have to do little girl things. When we were playing with toys, my cousin and I would love my cousin's boy toys, so I'd always play with his toys. But as soon as our parents would come into the room, we would have to switch our toys back again because my cousin as well started to transition the same year I did.
Oh.
So my cousin's a male to female, whereas I'm a female to male. So we both knew. I always thought my cousin was a girl. I never thought she was ever a boy.
Oh,
Even
wow.
when she was little, I used to always call her a girl.
Oh, wow. And at what age did you have the knowledge or the language to understand what was actually happening?
Not until I'm 54, so well into my 40s. I never understood what transgenders were. I I knew I wanted to change sexes back in 1995, but they never really told me when I asked in British Columbia what it was that I wanted to remove my breast, that it was called transgenders. They just said it was sex reassignment surgery. And that's all I ever understood it as.
Interesting. And um, would you say that you had or have dysphoria?
Oh, yes, big time. I mean, it's very bad. There's times where days it can be a little bit better, but just the fact that when you stand and you look in the mirror, I see that I got facial growth, but then when you're taking a shower, I have breast. So the facial growth doesn't match the breast. And then when you're changing and you're doing other things, I'm not one of these comfortable ones to stand to pee. I haven't learned how to do that with the Packers and that. So I always must remain seated on a toilet. I can never use a urinal yet. So there's a lot of these things that when I go into washrooms, I know I present male, but yet my body's presenting female to me.
What has that been like for you when you're trying to use public spaces? What
It can
response?
get scary. I've had issues where sometimes, no, I'll be quite candid here, where my Packers fallen out while I'm sitting on the toilet. So then now my Packer's on the floor and I have to pick it up quick so nobody sees it. And when I'm talking about Packer, I don't know if it's a latex little fake penis with the testicles.
Ah.
So I use one of those in my underwear. So when it falls out, now if any guy sees this, I'm sitting there going to have to try to explain myself. So it's scary when I'm using men's washrooms and things like that happen to me, and the embarrassment of that.
Are you concerned about a threat of physical violence when you say
Yes.
it's scary?
Yes. Okay. I've had an incident where a little boy kind of peeked into my stalls and he was saying to his daddy, "I don't have a pee-pee." So now I'm trying to explain, "Oh, well, yeah, it's there. It's just you didn't see it and you shouldn't be staring at or peeking in people's stalls either way."
Yeah, it's a good way to handle that. That would be so awkward.
It was.
Yeah, no doubt. Are you experiencing, because you're going through the transition, you've got a surgery scheduled for the next, like a week from now, is that correct?
No, I have my hysterectomy on Tuesday. So I go in for that at 6 a.m. and I have my surgery at 8 a.m.
So as you're in the process of transitioning, have you noticed a difference in the dysphoria? An increase or a decrease or?
That's a good question. There are times where, yes, there is a great decrease because, like I said, I pass. I'm what you call passable. Most people see me as male.
Absolutely.
My neighbors see me as male. So when I talk to them about how I'm going for a hysterectomy, they just kind of give me the eyeball, like, okay. Like my neighbor, she said, I've never ever seen you as female. I've always seen you as male. But she understands I have to have my top surgery and hysterectomy. I'm quite open and honest with most people.
It must be somewhat, and correct me if I'm wrong, it must be somewhat flattering, though, that the people who know you now would never have guessed.
That's correct.
As male, that would be.
Even when I was working, I worked at Tim Hortons, and most of the staff at Tim Hortons never even knew I was transgender. I'm the one that outed myself to them. I let them know because I thought it was important. We are kind of in a very close space. And like I said to them, I would like you to know that you're working amongst a transgender male. And then there were tons of questions. I mean, automatically the questions come up. Well, what do you mean transgender? How did you know about that? How do you hide your breast? So I would take them and I would show them my binder. And they're like, that is so wickedly cool. And they would feel it. And they're like, really? And what size were you? And I would tell them I was a double D48. And they're like, you're hiding all that under that? How'd you manage that? It's like, it's a process. You have to learn to separate and move so you can pass as a male with a chest contoured as a male's.
So do you find it intrusive when people start to ask you personal questions, or are you like, this is an educational moment for them and you're comfortable speaking about it? How do you approach?
I look at it as an educational moment. I'd rather teach them about what transgenders are from a transgender point of view, not from somebody else that's off the street that kind of gives them a wrong view or say something that's very ignorant about us, because we're not trannies. We're not a car part. We're actual people that have a gender that's not the right with what my marker don't teach them what my body teaches them. And who I am is not what this is. So I've had a lot of people say, you're the most open and comfortable person I'll come talk to about it, because most people get very touchy, even when they call me by Denelda or DJ, my other name that I was formerly known as, my birth name. I have cousins that still call me that. And it's like, that's fine. You don't see me every day of the week. So you're going to make me slip ups, and that's okay until you're comfortable. We'll keep working together with this.
Oh, wow. So you're quite flexible when it comes to the people in your life, and
yes,
yeah, and how fast or slow they accept the change. And sometimes people don't always say the right thing, and yeah, that's really good, actually.
Well, even my wife, the odd time, it doesn't happen often, but she has called me D, because that's what she knew me for years. I mean, we've known each other since we were 17, 18.
Oh, wow.
Even before that, I knew her back in 1977, 78. So she's seen me around and she's known me. And the odd time, because when you talk about my past, of course, you got to talk about me as D, which I was called DD or DJ. And when her son was born, which I was involved with, of course, when you talk about the hospital experience, I was a female. How do you erase your past? Unless you want to erase that you were even any of these people before your transition. And that I still got pictures of us from way back when. And I believe I shared a lot of the pictures with Amanda. I showed her baby pictures and that, because that's who I am. Just because I changed my gender marker and changed my name and who I am, I was this person up to that point.
So you haven't, rejected your past. Do you have pictures hanging up of your old self, for lack of a better phrasing?
I don't have them here with me right now, but I did send a bunch to Amanda that she's welcome to use on me.
That'd be fantastic. I am curious, how did your wife handle this change, your transition?
Well, when we first met I would have to say back in 84, 85, when I decided I was very amour with her, I told her right away, this is who I am. And I believe I've always was and always am a male. So I let her know right off the bat that that's who I believed I was. But now you got to jump ahead later on into life. When she started to realize the dysphoria was really starting to affect me mentally and emotionally, and it was causing me to be extremely more suicidal, then we knew we had to do something. Because I say it's our journey, we had to do something about my changes. And that's when we decided. I was reaching out to Trans London here on the Facebook page. There's a Trans London group. I reached out there, and Kim and one of the leaders, she spoke to me, and her and I, we spoke for quite a bit. And that's when she told me I was transgender. So that gave me something to work with to start looking up on Google and doing research. And I told my wife, I'm eventually going to have sex reassignment surgery. And this is what's going to be coming forward in our future. So then she accepted it, and we start moving forward together. But she will tell you herself, she had a grieving period. She grieved who she was losing before.
Oh, wow. Did she, I suppose I can ask her, but did she verbalize?
This is Deitana right here.
Hi, Deitana.
Hello.
So what was it like for you going through this change? And what was that grieving process like?
I didn't realize that I was grieving at first. Like, it was exciting when we began the journey for his change. That was all exciting. And I knew that it would be beneficial, especially for his mental and, his whole well-being, that it was very important for him to do, like, as he had said. And at first I was, like I said, very excited, and going along through the months of him having the testosterone and things were changing, the facial hair was coming in. And then the realization of that change, because it was physically seen, right, started to sink in. And the changes in there was little changes in his personality. He became more masculine-like how should I say, the way he responded to me.
The sensitivity.
The sensitivity, yes.
Because when you're female, you seem to have a sensitivity to a lot of things.
He was more in tune with my sensitive moments, it seems.
Whereas, like, I'm going, well, what's your problem? Like, get over that and move forward now.
But before, it was like he'd come over and hug me and say, and want to talk about it a little bit, sitting down with me. And that did change. I'll be honest.
So his temperament changed.
Yes.
And how he related to you.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Not that I even realized it.
He did not realize it, though. No, I realized he didn't realize it. Isn't that something?
That is so interesting.
So that's when I started to look back, and my memory bank went, I miss that person. And then I realized one night when I was laying in bed, I had some tears in my eyes, and I realized, oh my God, I'm grieving the loss of Deitana. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't at first. I didn't know what it was, right? These feelings, this sadness, these memories that made me long for that other person. That's grieving, because that person was no longer around.
Was it almost like grieving the death of a partner?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Even I, after talking, her and I talked, I realized I was grieving the loss of Deitana.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because there was things that her and I could do as females together. We could go into change rooms. We could go into washrooms. We could borrow things back and forth.
Yeah.
That even though I was masculine a lot of times, there was these female attributes that I could share with her.
Yeah.
That you're told no to. Even when a bunch of women get together in a group now, and I go to join in, it's different because they're like, oh, well, there's a guy here now. And I'm going, hey, I was one of you guys. But then they kind of walk off. And I'm like, I miss that. I miss being able to just walking into a group and staying there.
You're no longer one of the girls.
That's right.
So this is stuff that I would not have considered about the experience of transitioning for someone with respect, but that makes perfect sense. There's things you may gain and there's things that you may lose, like, those sorts of things.
Just like his privilege in society. He became more privileged. right?
I
More
definitely
privilege.
want to get into that. That's going to
Yeah.
be that though. We're
Yeah.
talking to James O'Deary
Okay.
about his transition story. We're going to pause for a quick break so you can hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. So, okay, the privilege. Um, what what privilege have you noticed that you've either gained or lost as you transition?
I've gained privilege a lot. I mean, it's amazing that when her and I go into a place, most often they ignore her and talk to me right away.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Won't even look at me. Other than for,
The fact that she's a
the
woman.
obvious.
But when it comes to other than that, it's like they'll talk to me. Even when I was working, and this is something that I would like to talk about. When I was working at Tim Hortons, they would ask for the manager. Well, you know how different days there's managers that are different managers. Well, I had a female manager instead that day. And so I would say, okay, I'll go get the manager. And because I was wearing manager clothing, they're like, you're the manager. No, I'm not the manager today. This is a manager here. I don't want to talk to her. I want to talk to you.
No.
Yes.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we could get into that a little later too. But there's a lot of that I've realized as a male, women are more ignored, and equality is not there. Nobody can say it. Nobody can make me believe it's there.
Because it's not.
This is so interesting.
It's only words. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's only words.
It's
And
cheap
no more.
words. It's cheap when government says, well, we got equality in Canada. No, we don't.
That's because there's no equal pay either. We've learned. He's learned over this past few years. He's no equal pay for women either. So what he's saying is absolutely the truth.
And whether I walk into a store, and say you and I walked into a store, most men will not look at you. They'll look at me to talk to me first. Mechanics think I know so much about cars, yet I know zero. But it's okay because I fake it.
Wow.
Do you want to hear another story?
I do.
I know we're on break here, so I'll be quick. I went into a mechanic shop to buy a wheel bearing because I needed a wheel bearing for my vehicle. And while I was in the shop, of course, it was all men. I mean, so they're talking away, and they're talking. And the one guy comes out and goes, "God damn it, my wife, she's on the rag, so I have to go get her some stuff for her period, right?" And they're talking very ignorantly. I mean, they went up one side, down the other side. So me standing there listening to this, I couldn't handle it. And I go, Jesus, isn't that horrible when that happens to you? And they're looking at me, going, yeah, that's right. I says, yeah, I hate it when you bleed all over the sheets, or next thing you know, all of a sudden you didn't expect it, but your period happens in the middle of the day and now you got to go clean up. I know what it feels like. And they're like, yeah, brother, you got it. Yeah, because I was a female. They all got the deer in the headlight look.
No.
And that stopped there. I was scared because, like I said, you're amongst a bunch of guys. But I had to speak up for women because that's not right. And that's the other side of the coin. When you're what they call brother, they think they can talk to you about women any which way they want and you'll accept it. as a brother now, have two choices.
Side
You
with
join them, or
Yeah.
you speak against it,
Yeah.
and you stand up for women. And that's what I believe we should do. Since we're transgenders, we should stand up more for the females than ever now.
Have you noticed? Is this a common thing where you're out in public and men are speaking in a way that they would not speak if they are near a woman? Like,
Well, you got that right.
having conversations that you just never thought happened before?
Here's the funny
Yes.
thing. He'll go in first. They'll talk a certain way. I come behind him into the door and enter the building, and they, like you said, they shut right up.
Oh, this is so interesting.
And if you're a wife, if their wife walks into the same room, the story changes.
Yeah.
It's amazing being on this aspect of the coin.
Like even talking about other women in a sexual way, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's different.
That's so fascinating.
And see this, I learned this from, there's a gentleman on YouTube called Electric Dade, and he's a transgender, and he's a Jehovah's Witness. He was a Jehovah's Witness, like myself, because I just fellowship Jehovah's Witness now. My wife and I both are anyhow. But he talked about this, how he experienced these things. So I learned a lot by watching different YouTube channels with Electric Dade on it. And he taught a lot about interjections of needles and everything else like that. So it was like, I got to see there how he felt when this situation happened to him and his wife.
Oh, wow. So did I hear that correct? You're both religious. Is that correct?
We both were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yes.
Were. Okay.
Now we're attending Trinity United Church at the moment.
But we still are, we're not Christian.
We're agnostic.
We're agnostic. Gnostic pagan. So we have the elements of pagan, but we also have agnostic, which means we learn all kinds of faith. We're very open-minded to everything. And of course, it doesn't mean that we have to accept every single part of everything we learn, because there's things we can say, okay, you know what, I really don't believe that, but I accept this aspect of that faith.
Okay, you're getting very long, lengthy.
Sorry, but yeah.
So did you find a religious institution that was open? Like, how did you?
Trinity United is not that I'm trying to sponsor Trinity United, but like I said just recently, I let Trinity United know that I'm going through with my hysterectomy. They've accepted me as a transgender.
Yes.
They've accepted the fact that I wear a blue moon on it's a tattoo. It's a little tattoo, will not come off, a blue moon on my forehead that shows I believe in the goddess deity. They've accepted all this, and they're very open to many. They are, what's that word I'm looking for? They've accepted LGBTQ.
Faith.
They're affirmative church.
Yes.
Nice.
So, and many of them there are standing behind me, standing by me. They'll stand in front of me. They'll protect me. Even when we've had different issues, they've been there for us.
They've asked about the moon. They were brave enough, a lot of them, to ask about the moon. And even the pastor asked about it. And when he spoke with me, when I first met him, we listened to the whole sermon of his, and then afterwards we were introduced to him. So he was talking about different things, and I interjected and I said, well, do you believe in the goddess? Because I do. And I explained a little bit about myself and my husband. He goes, yeah, I noticed he had the blue moon on his forehead. He goes, that's probably what that's about, right? And I said, yes. He'll explain to you later. So I let him know, do you ever speak about the goddess here? Because I noticed today, no. Like, is that something that could be introduced? And he said, absolutely, but give it time.
And so now he's, within the last year, he's been introducing that. He introduced the Trans Day of Remembrance. We've talked about the Trans Day of Visibility. And we actually hold the Pride Picnic for the LGBTQ.
Yeah. Amazing. In terms of your experience as a man, you did mention, like both of you mentioned, some of the privileges that come with it. Have you noticed a difference in pay wage?
I get paid higher than general females. The gender neutral or the gender equality is not there. I do get, even as a manager, I was getting at least 15 to 20 cents more than those that are the females. And on top of it, I was manager shorter time, where some of them were managers longer, 3 years, 4 years, and I was still getting wage higher.
And he had let me know this as well. I was, wow, this is real.
That's incredible to me. Did they verbalize why you were getting more, or was it kind of just a?
It was because I was apparently more experienced. Apparently.
Oh,
They're sneaky about it.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So you've got the surgery coming up on Tuesday. How are you feeling about that? Are you nervous? Are you?
I'm having at first I thought I wasn't having anxiety. I really thought I'm prepared. I got this. I can handle this. This is not an issue. But then I've been noticing I'm getting a lot of dysphoria, anxiety, because again, I pass. I go in. I'm looked at as male, so I get signed in as male. But the moment the shirt comes off and the binder comes off, there's the breast. Then there's the vagina.
Even as you're describing it, it feels daunting to me. Is that how you're feeling it? Like it's this disrobing and it's like,
yes,
not supposed to be here, but it's here. And now I'm undressing
and now they're going to be looking at me. They're doing surgery down there. And yet my face, my mind say male, my body says female. And it's very, very tough some days, especially knowing that on Tuesday, because being COVID, again, she can't be in the surgery. She can't come in the hospital. I have to do this walk by myself. So I'm sitting up there by myself, and I'm going to be, and you're going to have to do tons of explaining. No matter whether you're talking to a nurse that's already done this with transgenders or not, you always seem to have to open up again and re-explain yourself again to all these people. Even when I had my COVID test, the first thing they asked me, because I had to go get a COVID test for surgery. So why are you having a test for surgery? Oh, what kind of doctor is this? And I froze because I'm like, gynecologist. Oh, gynecologist. Why? Oh, you're going for prostate. Yes, I'm going for a prostate surgery. You're so right. Thank God somebody said that, because that saved the day.
Why are they even asking? This seems kind of
expensive. It's not even their business.
Because on the form, they have to send it to the right doctor. And because the doctors have the same last names, so then they're going, okay, you're looking at this doctor, but which doctor is it? There's a OBYN, or the gynecologist, and then there's another doctor that's a family doctor. So we need to know who we're sending this to.
Okay.
So when you say gynecologist,
but they went further into asking why, and
but
they shouldn't have.
But it's no different. I would be questioning, why are you going to see a gynecologist? You look like a male. Prostate. So that saved my day.
Yeah, so they knew.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. So, what was what sort of preparation did you have to do to get ready for this surgery?
What you mean by blood work or by mind?
So, in terms of any prescriptions, psychological evaluation, like what was it?
Oh, psychological, yes, because you have to make sure this is definitely what I want. But like I've been telling doctors, and I begged for a hysterectomy back when I was 13. I did not, and I knew I did not want to have physical children from my body. I knew I was not wanting children from me. I wanted my partner or my wife to have the child, not me. I would love to be able to inseminate to have the child, but to have it come out of my body, it was never something I ever wanted.
It's understandable. Yeah. Wow. So the surgery is happening in Montreal?
No, the hysterectomy is going to be here in Victoria Hospital.
Oh.
When I have top surgery, which is the removal of the breast, that will either be in Montreal, or I'm looking for the doctor in Sudbury now.
And they're a little more lenient to have people in.
In Sudbury, especially.
Oh, okay. So you can stay a little closer.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to pause for a commercial break. Please stay tuned.
I volunteered with Pride just as a volunteer in the beer garden. I was scheduled at a few different events throughout the week and throughout the weekend in the park, and I was just a volunteer at the time, and that was my first year that I came out and volunteered with Pride, and I realized how much just one event brought the community together, how much of an impact in London that having all the different Pride was there for people. You saw
Alexa, replay the song, please.
That command is not supported right now.
Rude. Alexa, replay song.
That command is not supported right now.
So in terms of the public's response, it sounds like your wife's been very supportive, which is wonderful.
Yes.
Your church has been very supportive.
Yes.
And it sounds like, although you're always concerned about physical threat, it sounds like even the public has been fairly decent. Would you
Yes.
agree? Or
I agree very much with that. But now come to my personal family.
Yeah.
My biological family. No.
Not at all.
how did they respond?
Now, I am what you would consider a half-breed, Native American, Indigenous Indian. So you would expect them to my father to respond differently, because two-spirited is something that we grew up and we always understood and knew about, because my grandmother has always taught us this. But he never accepted me as a lesbian, because the first thing out of his mouth when he realized I was a lesbian is, "Who wears the pants?"
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like, really? I'm not about to answer you on that one. And then when he found out I was transgendering, him and his wife, my stepmother, and my half brother, half sister, and my sister have all said they will kill me if they ever see me. And they mean it. They call me a freak. They call me a mutation. They verbally abuse me on Facebook or verbally abuse me whenever they get a chance to see me. And when I was I live in Brantford, I was there residing. He went out of his way to totally ignore me in front of people. And a friend of mine finally grabbed me and said, "You don't need this. Let's get out of here." So yes, biological family has not accepted me. But I got aunts and uncles that do accept me, that have readily accepted calling me James. They've seen me as their nephew. Cousins that have accepted me, but that biological, the one that you think should be there for you, has not.
That would be so painful.
And even we've learned recently, like I've raised our son, I call him our son, but he's even had issues with it. And within the last couple of years, there's been a lot of very mental issues that have happened here in the home, where I was fearful for my life.
Really?
Really?
I don't quite understand why somebody would feel like because they're transitioning, that gives them a right to be abusive or violent or hostile. Like I can't even understand how.
Well, have you ever looked at I will say Transgender Day of Remembrance, and a lot of transgender people are murdered very violently. People cannot seem to accept,
Even by their families.
that you are doing this.
Yeah.
They think you're mutilating your body. They think you're,
Changing yourself.
and you're really not. You're becoming who you truly, truly are.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always wanted to do. That's what most transgenders want, is to be who they are.
Yeah.
Like I had a friend at church, who said to me, "How did you know you were a boy?" And I said, "Okay, let me ask you a question." And she readily accepted. She goes, "Okay, how did you know you were a girl?"
Exactly.
And she's like, I never thought about that. Just like you knew you were a girl when you were little, you wanted to play with the dolls, you wanted to have tea parties. I wanted to be with the Tonka toys. I wanted to be out there with the dirt bikes. So that's how I knew.
And you knew that this is more than I'm a tomboy.
Oh, yes.
Like this is
I've never even
I'm a
wanted to.
boy. I'm supposed to be a boy.
Like, I never had the desire to wear the little dresses or walk around in a dress. The moment I got free around the corner and that dress came off and I was running around in my undies.
Wow. What advice would you give to people who are thinking about transitioning? Because I've interviewed quite a few people who were born male and transitioned to female. You're the first person I've interviewed so far that is the reverse. And it's been interesting because how you're describing it is so similar in some ways and then so different in other ways. So for people who are transitioning from female to male, what advice would you give them for how to navigate that change?
Be prepared. Be prepared for people to look at you differently. Because when you're a female, you expect to have people be more sympathetic if you're having an issue at home, or if you're having because still until you actually get the testosterone into your body more and more, you still have feminine issues yet, where you sometimes you still get the idea that your body's going through a period even though it's not, because it does these things yet. You can't say I need a day off because I'm having a period. Now you have to look at things as a masculine way. Now people are going to treat you masculine. So you have to be ready for the opposite of what you've always been used to. Even when I said I was having an issue at home, they were like looking at me like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, okay, I'm having problems with my son. And they don't treat you like you're a female. It's like buck up, take care, and get back to work.
This is interesting. So the house is the female domain. So if there's an issue at the house, then your wife should handle that. Like you should be at work. Is that kind of what you're sensing?
Yeah. Like they don't even look at you that you should have sympathy or empathy. A lot of times they don't treat you that way because you're a man now. You're supposed to be manly. You're supposed to act like a man.
Take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and take charge.
Oh, this is fascinating. So this is like really toxic masculinity.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Very toxic.
It's still there yet. Like boys don't cry. Don't you dare shed a tear because you know you don't cry.
They'll never admit that it's still out there because to admit it means we still have to fix it, right? Let's just cover it up, pretend it's not there.
Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned you have a son.
Yes.
If you don't mind me asking, how old is he?
34.
Oh, 34. He's a grown man.
Yes.
Okay, so have you noticed a change or a difference in how you identify with your son?
Yes. At first it seemed like things were going to be going okay. But then we noticed that he was having issues with my masculine side coming out. Because it seemed different when we were two women together. But the more he started to feel my masculinity because my testosterone was building in my body, we would clash more often. There was now it's becoming more of the typical male dad and son issues. And that's what started to really ramp up more and more as the years have gone by. I started on testosterone February 17th, 2016. So we've been watching and going through the different times, the frames. While I was getting prepared for this, I started looking through my notes and starting to notice that, yes, things have changed. The more it built, the more he's seen us as a man and female couple, the more he wanted to have a relationship now. So it started to change the dynamics in the family.
Wow.
It became more clingy to me.
My son to mother.
So he became more clingy with you.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah. I have no idea.
other than his
Personally.
son wanted to stay bonded with his mother more than ever, and dad don't understand me anymore.
Yeah.
Dad
perhaps
has an
that.
issue with this. Dad has an issue with that.
Oh, interesting. When in actuality, I mean, I would assume you'd almost understand him more now.
Mhm.
But yet, because I understood more, I expected more as well.
Oh, of course, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so in terms of what has it been for really both of you, belonging to the LGBTQ2 community in London, um, in terms of your relationship with Pride, uh, what would you like to see happen? What would you like to see the new board do? What's your feelings on that?
I would have to say what I would like to see more of is the Pride Board getting more involved with our seniors. It's something that, as being Native American again, Indigenous, I find that elders are big influence in our society. And if you ignore your elders, you're ignoring a huge part of your life, your history, and who you are and who you became because of them.
There's even trans elders.
Yes, like there's so many of them that are being ignored and been misplaced that they feel lost in our society.
And when they go into nursing homes, they gotta hide again who they are.
They're back in a closet.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to elderly folk in the city who are going through that?
Yes.
Who don't feel supported?
Yes. A lot of our elderly feel that way. They feel, especially like what she was saying, a nursing home. A lot of them, it's amazing. You come out of the closet, they changed to what we are. They started Stonewall. They started who we are here in London. The old clubs that we used to have here. A lot of them were our forerunners. And yet, when they go into a nursing home, they're forced back into the closet because nursing home, a lot of the residents there don't accept, or the nursing staff don't accept lesbian, gays, transgenders, or queers.
So they're being confronted with old school homophobia.
Oh, yeah.
Transphobia.
Again,
And even abused.
for being such.
By other people or by the staff?
People and staff.
Oh, okay. So you'd like to see more outreach for the elderly population in the city?
Especially.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is good to know.
I'm reading a book that I've Leah Remini, I don't know if you can see it, Leah Remini, Troublemaker.
Yes.
Okay. And she got a quote in her book that I thought a lot of transgenders and LGBT would really, really like, because it's something that really renaissance, or what's that word? Resonated with me. The quote is, "We all have something to offer the world in some way, but by not being our authentic selves, we are robbing the world of something different, something special."
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that nice?
And
I love that. Can you say that again?
sure. We all have something to offer the world in some way, but by not being our authentic selves, we are robbing the world of something different, something special. Each one of us is a unique individual. And when we do not become who we are, that butterfly, and transform, then we really are not becoming who we truly are to be.
Yes, yes, yes.
I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, I love that.
We can't let others stop us from doing that, right? We can't.
Life's way too short for that.
It's true.
It is.
I completely agree. So I would like to thank you for watching this interview, and I hope you enjoyed. Please don't hesitate to give any feedback. Thank you very much.